While digging up weeds in his garden, this local resident stumbled upon something truly amazing. At first, he thought it was just another rock. But as Daniel Ludwin brushed away the dirt, he realized it was an old-looking watch. But Daniel had no idea yet how special this watch truly was. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. When Daniel realized his shovel hit something hard in the ground, he immediately stopped his digging and knelt down. To his surprise, his hands tightened not around a boulder or a piece of scrap metal but around a delicate, rusted wristwatch. Its surface was all mudded, and its glass cover was cracked. To most people, this watch would have looked like random buried junk, but there was something about it that sparked Daniel's intrigue. He lifted the ancient-looking timepiece closer to his face so he could have a better look at it. "This watch looks old. Really old," he murmured to himself. Despite its ruined condition, Daniel felt strangely compelled to clean it and take a closer look. It was just a broken watch, but somehow it seemed more important than that. Inside his kitchen sink, the mud slowly washed away, revealing faint markings beneath a thick layer of rust. The watch looked fancy in a way too pretty for soldiers or common folk. And the more water passed over the glass, the more of the fancy metalwork was revealed. Turning the watch over, he spotted a tiny engraving nearly hidden under corrosion. The engraving read, "Remember." The single word was barely visible at first, but as he rubbed gently with a cloth, it became clearer. Out of curiosity, Daniel decided to bring it to a jeweler in town. He called ahead of time and explained his find, which resulted in the jeweler asking him to come over within the hour, during the man's lunch break. Daniel visited Mr. Keller, the town's elderly watchmaker known for repairing antique watches. The moment Keller examined the watch closely, his expression changed. The air in the shop seemed to grow heavier, and Daniel felt a strange tension he hadn't noticed before. Keller noticed a tiny symbol etched into the crown of the watch, one that eluded Daniel before. And apparently, this tiny symbol stuck something deep within the jeweler, because the moment the old man lay eyes on that part of the watch, he began to speak to himself in a stuttering tone. This can't be." After all these years, Daniel looked at the old man with a confused expression on his face. "Where exactly did you find this?" Keller asked, in a demanding tone. Daniel explained it was buried in his garden, under the old apple tree near the back fence. The jeweler paused, clearly debating whether to say more. Finally, he muttered, "You might want to call the police and have them take the watch into evidence." Daniel stared at him, surprised by the suggestion. Daniel asked why. Why did he have to call the police, Mr. Keller insisted the watch was anything but simple. He pointed to a marking engraved on the metal, a shield with two swords crossing it. Daniel leaned closer and noticed the symbol beneath the dirt. Keller said he had seen that same symbol before, more than 30 years ago when he was a younger jeweler. His voice dropped to a whisper as he spoke, as if the memory itself was dangerous. He warned Daniel that if the owner of the watch was the same person he had encountered back then, neither of them should want anything to do with it. Daniel left the shop feeling unsettled, the watch heavy in his jacket pocket. At home, he placed it on the kitchen table and stared at it, uncertain whether he should follow Keller's advice. Eventually, he called the police. He explained how he had found the watch and described Keller's warning. The dispatcher told him to stay home and wait for an officer. When he saw a police car turn onto his street, his heart began to pound. Acting on instinct, he picked up the watch and slipped it into his back pocket just before the doorbell rang. The officer immediately asked about the watch, but Daniel hesitated. Then he told the officer the call had been a prank. He claimed a friend had dared him to make the call and that nothing had actually been found. The officer looked suspicious and asked again if Daniel was sure nothing had been discovered. Daniel refused, insisting there was nothing to see. After a tense pause, the officer finally gave up. The police car soon drove away, leaving Daniel standing behind the curtains. His strange adventure with the watch had clearly just begun. Later that evening, Daniel tried to distract himself with television, but his thoughts kept returning to the mysterious object, now resting on his nightstand. Sleep came slowly. Sometime after midnight, Daniel finally drifted into a restless sleep, only to be jolted awake by a sharp noise from downstairs. He sat upright, his heart pounding, and listened carefully. For a moment there was silence. Then he heard it again, the faint sound of glass breaking and footsteps moving somewhere in the house. Daniel slowly got out of bed and walked toward his bedroom door, every nerve in his body tense. Another sound echoed up the stairs. This time it was unmistakable. Someone was inside his house. Without really thinking, Daniel picked up his tablet from beside the bed. Last night, he'd used it for Netflix, but now it might prove useful in a much different way. He hurriedly opened the app that connected to the security cameras he had installed around his house the year before. At first, he saw nothing unusual, only the dark, silent rooms he knew so well. But then he saw it. On the kitchen camera, two people dressed entirely in black were moving quietly through the room. Their faces were covered, and they wore gloves. They opened drawers and searched cabinets with careful, deliberate movements, clearly looking for something specific. Daniel's mind raced. They would eventually come upstairs. He needed a plan. Looking around his bedroom, he noticed the remote for his house's surround sound system in the nightstand drawer. An idea quickly formed. Grabbing the remote, he opened YouTube on his tablet and searched for a recording of approaching police sirens. His fingers shook as he selected the first video he found. He switched the sound system to whole house mode and turned the volume to maximum. After a brief hesitation, Daniel pressed play. The sound of distant sirens filled the house, echoing through the hallways as if police cars were racing toward the property. Daniel stared at the tablet, waiting. On the kitchen camera, the intruders suddenly froze. One dropped the drawer he was holding, while the other looked around nervously. Within seconds, panic took over. The two burglars rushed toward the back door, stumbling in their hurry. The house fell silent again. Daniel remained still for a moment, before cautiously making his way downstairs. The back window lay shattered across the floor. It contained traces of blood from one of the burglar. He carefully checked every room, locking doors and making sure no one remained inside. Instead of returning to bed, he chose to sleep in the living room, sitting upright in his recliner with the watch still in his pocket. Sleep barely came. When morning finally arrived, Daniel felt exhausted but relieved that the intruders had not returned. Later that morning, Daniel went to the hardware store and bought a set of precision screwdrivers, claiming they were for repairing an old radio. Back home, he carefully examined the watch under the light. That was when he noticed something strange inside the mechanism. A tiny glint reflected the sunlight, a bright sliver hidden deep between the gears. Daniel tried to reach it with the screwdrivers, but the object was wedged too far inside. If he wanted to see what was inside the watch, he would need help from someone with the right tools. And that person was, unfortunately, Mr. Keller. Daniel carefully packed the watch and drove back into town, hoping Keller would still be willing to help. When he entered the shop, the bell above the door rang. Mr. Keller looked up from behind the counter, and his expression immediately turned sour. Daniel greeted him quietly and admitted that he had not handed the watch to the police as Keller had advised. He quickly explained everything that had happened, the burglars searching his house, the patrol car circling the neighborhood, and his failed attempt to open the watch himself. Finally, he asked curtly if Daniel wanted help opening it. Daniel nodded and explained about the shiny object hidden inside the mechanism. Keller motioned for him to place the watch on the work table. Daniel set it down, and Keller pulled out a magnifying glass before bending over the battered timepiece. Daniel watched anxiously as Keller worked. Then Daniel noticed something strange. Through the thin white sleeve of Keller's shirt, a red stain was slowly spreading. Blood was seeping through the fabric. The wound looked fresh. As Daniel stared at it, a disturbing thought formed. The injury lined up exactly with the kind of cut someone might get crawling through broken glass. The same broken glass left by the burglars who had escaped his house. Without warning, Daniel grabbed the watch from Keller's hands. The jeweler's face twisted with anger. "Give that back," he snapped, reaching across the table. But Daniel had already backed toward the door. Ignoring Keller's shouts, he rushed outside, jumped into his car, and drove away. Daniel spent the next hour driving around town, too afraid to return home. Both Keller and the suspicious police officer knew where he lived. Finally, he made a decision. He parked far from the police station and walked the rest of the way, the watch hidden in his pocket. At the front desk, he told the clerk he needed to speak with detectives about something serious. Soon, two detectives led him into a small interview room. Daniel took a deep breath and began explaining everything from finding the watch in his garden to Keller's strange reaction and the break-in at his house. The detectives listened carefully as he finished the story. Together, they opened the watch. Inside, they discovered a hidden compartment. When it finally came loose, dozens of tiny diamonds spilled across the table, sparkling under the harsh lights of the room. For a moment, no one spoke. Then one detective leaned forward, staring at the stones. "I know these," he said quietly. "They're from the Branford bank heist. 30 years ago." The other detective nodded. The case had never been solved, and the stolen diamonds had vanished until now. Daniel explained his suspicions about Keller and the officer who had been watching his house. The diamonds were quickly sent to the crime lab and compared with DNA evidence from the old robbery. Hours later, the results returned with a perfect match. Police cars soon surrounded Keller's jewelry shop. Confronted with the evidence, Keller finally confessed. He admitted that he and his partner, Officer Brown, the same policeman who had been circling Daniel's house, had robbed the Brantford Bank 3 decades earlier. During their escape, they hid the stolen diamonds inside everyday objects. One of those objects was the watch Daniel had discovered years later in the soil beneath his garden. Daniel suddenly found himself at the center of a story that had haunted the town for decades. In the end, the diamonds were recovered, Keller and Brown were arrested, and the long unsolved robbery was finally closed. Daniel's life slowly returned to normal. Sometimes he still looked at the place in his garden where the watch was found, wondering what else might be hidden just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. Though life settled back into its usual routine, Daniel never quite looked at his home the same way again. Every time he passed the old apple tree in his garden, he remembered how a simple day of weeding had unraveled secrets long buried, reminding him that even the quietest places can hold astonishing stories.